Hey everybody, it's Miss Piccioli. Today we are going to continue our work that we started before vacation on short stories and plot structure. And we're going to do it using one of my all-time favorite stories. I love this story so much. You guys know I'm not a huge fantasy fan. It's not my go-to genre, but this happens to be a fantasy story that I absolutely love. It's called A Wife's Story by Ursula Le Guin. And just so you know, Ursula Le Guin is an American science fiction author who has written for children and adults. She's written nonfiction, she's written poems. She's won several awards. Her young adult novel, Tombs of Atuan, which is, I think, the second book in the series, A Wizard of Earthsea, won the Newbery Medal. But she's also won several Hugo and Nebula Awards, which are science fiction awards given to adult science fiction books. So she's what you would call a prolific writer. Unfortunately, she passed away 2 years ago. So, but she was writing her whole life. So a couple of things about this story. One, it's confusing. And so if you find yourself confused, that's okay. But you can't ignore the confusion. You have to acknowledge the questions that are popping into your brain. And if questions aren't popping into your brain, you've got to slow down and think a little bit more carefully. So, like I said, good readers don't ignore the confusion or the questions. Good readers acknowledge them and they try to answer them. Okay? And they try to answer them by visualizing, making connections, making inferences, all those reading strategies we've talked about. The other thing I do want to explain is that it's going to be the format. I've never done this online before. How many times have I said that this year? So I just want to explain something. You're listening to me, and I'm going to be reading the story. So you'll have two windows open during this activity. And I want the YouTube video open so that you can listen to me like you're doing. And then I want the story open as well. And so what I'll do is read part of the story and then periodically stop, and you're going to answer questions. They're going to be called stop and notice questions. But you're not going to answer in this box in this story because it'll take me forever to open it and grade it. So you're going to see where it says, click here to answer. Each time we stop the video, you're going to click there. And when you click there, it'll send you to this sheet. And here's stop and notice number 1. You're going to put your answer where the red is. Stop and notice number 2. Put your answer where the red is. Stop and notice number 3, etc. And then to get back to the story, you can click right on this link, and it'll send you right back to this. I will say you don't want to click on this link every single time because it'll open up a new tab every time you go back to it. But you can do it once and then just click on the tabs to go back and forth. All right. So with that said, I'm going to start the story. So, A Wife's Story by Ursula Le Guin. He was a good husband, a good father. I don't understand it. I don't believe it. I don't believe that it happened. I saw it happen, but it isn't true. It can't be. He was always gentle. If you had seen him playing with the children, anybody who saw him with the children would have known there wasn't any bad in him. Not one mean bone. When I first met him, he was still living with his mother over near Spring Lake, and I used to see them together, the mothers and the sons, and think that any young fellow that was that nice with his family must be one worth knowing. And then one time when I was walking in the woods, I met him by himself, coming back from a hunting trip. He hadn't got any game at all, not so much as a field mouse, but he wasn't cast down about it. He was just larking along, enjoying the morning air. And that was one of the things I first loved about him. He didn't take things hard. He didn't grouch and whine when things didn't go his way. So we got to talking that day, and I guess things moved right along after that because pretty soon he was over here pretty near all the time. And my sister said, see, my parents had moved out the year before and gone south, leaving us the place. My sister said, kind of teasing but serious, well, if he is going to be here every day and half the night, I guess there isn't any room for me. And she moved out, just down the way. We've always been real close, her and me. That's the sort of thing that doesn't ever change. I could never have gotten through this bad time without my sis. So we're going to stop right here. And the stop and notice number 1 is jot down, what are the questions that popped into your head? What are you wondering about? And what do you notice about the very first line? What do you notice? He was a good husband, a good father. What do you notice about that? Okay, stop and jot.